I always thought the months leading up to becoming a father would be the happiest of my life. Everyone told me that pregnancy changes you, that it softens you, makes you more responsible, makes you aware of how fragile life actually is. For me, that was true. I changed completely the day I found out she was pregnant with our first child. I started working harder, saving more, taking fewer risks, staying home more. I wanted to protect my family, the family I thought we were building together. During the first few months, everything felt perfect. She was emotional, but in a sweet way. She held my hand more often, leaned on me, told me she felt safe with me. I remember lying in bed next to her, one hand on her stomach, waiting to feel the first little kick. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the start of the life I always wanted. And at that moment, it felt true. But looking back now, the signs were there. Small ones, subtle ones. The kind you ignore because you don't want to believe that the person you love, the mother of your child, could be capable of something so dark, something so cruel. She was more protective over her phone. She slept facing the wall instead of facing me. She took longer showers. She smiled at messages she wouldn't let me see. Little things, small cracks, but cracks all the same. At the time, I brushed it off. Hormones, I told myself, stress, anxiety, anything except what it really was, because the truth would have destroyed me long before the day everything finally shattered. I used to tell myself that pregnancy made her tired, that it was normal for her to pull away a little. I even Googled it. Is emotional distance normal during pregnancy? And every article kept saying yes, so I held on to those words like they were a lifeline. I didn't want to think anything else. I didn't want to believe anything else. But it wasn't just distance, it was secrecy. Her phone was always face down. She suddenly needed privacy, something she never cared about before. She would take her phone with her to the bathroom, to the kitchen, even when she went to throw away the trash for 10 seconds. And every time I asked her if everything was okay, she'd just say, "I'm fine, I'm just overwhelmed." And I believed her, because when you love someone, you believe them, even when you shouldn't. Then came the nights she stayed up late in the living room. She said she couldn't sleep because the baby kicked too much. She said lying down made her uncomfortable. She said she just needed air. But every time I walked out to check on her, she'd quickly hide her phone, force a smile, and say, "Everything's fine, go back to bed." But her eyes were somewhere else. I remember one night in particular. I stood in the hallway watching her silhouette from behind, the blue light of her phone glowing across her face. She looked happy, not stressed, not overwhelmed, happy, happier than she had looked with me in weeks. My stomach twisted, but I swallowed it down. I told myself, "You're paranoid, don't ruin this." I didn't want to be the man who doubted the mother of his child. But I should have. God, I should have. During her second trimester, she started having more frequent doctor appointments, or at least that's what she told me. At first, I didn't question it. Pregnancy can be complicated. Extra checkups are normal. But then I noticed something strange. She always dressed nicer for those appointments than she did for anything else. Makeup, hair done, perfume, full outfits, not just sweatpants and maternity shirts. And when I asked why, she said, "I just want to feel pretty. My body's changing so much." That made sense. I wanted her to feel beautiful too. I encouraged her. I supported her. I even told her I'd drive her to the appointments, but she always said, "No, it's fine, they're quick. You don't need to miss work." That was the first real red flag. The second was the time I insisted on going anyway. I took the day off. I wanted to be there. But when we arrived, the doctor wasn't even there. The receptionist looked confused. She said, "Your appointment is scheduled for next week." I remember the way my wife froze. She laughed nervously, said she must have mixed up the dates, apologized to me, and pulled me out of the clinic as fast as she could. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. But I told myself not to push it, not while she was pregnant, not while stress could affect the baby. I let it go. And that was my biggest mistake. I kept letting things go. It finally happened on a Sunday morning. She was in the shower. Her phone buzzed beside me on the bed. Normally, I looked away. I respected her privacy. But that morning, something inside me said, "Check it." Not out of jealousy, not out of insecurity, out of survival. The message preview read, "I miss you. When can I see you again?" My heart just stopped. Not beat faster. Not dropped. It stopped. This wasn't a friendly message. Not from a coworker, not from a friend. This was intimate, personal, wrong. I wanted to open the phone, but it was locked. And suddenly I felt sick, physically sick. My hands were shaking. My chest was tight. I thought I was overreacting until another message came. "Does he suspect anything?" I swear the room started spinning. My ears were ringing. Every doubt I ever ignored hit me all at once. She came out of the shower humming like nothing was wrong. She smiled at me, kissed my cheek, sat next to me on the bed, and I just stared at her, knowing she had just received messages from another man while carrying my child inside her. But I said nothing. I froze, fear, confusion, shock, all of it tied my tongue. I wanted to ask. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But instead, I just said breakfast. Because I didn't know what else to do. 2 days later, I made a decision that changed everything. She said she had another doctor appointment. Same story as always. Something finally snapped inside me. I told her I was working overtime and wouldn't be home until late. She kissed me goodbye, grabbed her bag, and left. 5 minutes later, I grabbed my keys and followed her. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it echo in my head. I prayed, literally prayed, that she truly was going to the clinic, that everything was in my imagination, that the messages were a misunderstanding. I would have given anything for her to be innocent. But she didn't go to the clinic. She drove across town, parked behind a small apartment building, and waited. I watched from a distance. Then he came out, a man I had never seen before. He walked straight to her car, opened the passenger door, kissed her forehead, and got inside. My soul left my body. I didn't confront them. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, heart breaking in a way I didn't know was possible. And in that moment I realized, the woman I loved, the mother of my child, the person I trusted most, was living a second life, a life without me. I don't know how long I sat there after watching him get into her car. Minutes, maybe hours. Time stopped making sense. My brain couldn't process what my eyes had seen. Pregnant, my wife, carrying our child, and cheating, not just texting, not just flirting, full betrayal, the kind you don't recover from. She eventually drove away with him still in the car. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. I had seen enough to destroy me. So I just drove home, but I didn't really drive. I floated, detached. It felt like watching a movie of my own life, but I wasn't inside it anymore. Every streetlight felt brighter. Every sound felt louder. I kept replaying everything. Her late-night texting, her secret smiles, her extra appointments. The message, does he suspect anything? I felt stupid, weak, betrayed, broken. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. I wanted to punch the steering wheel, but my body wouldn't move. All I could do was breathe, slow, shaky, controlled. When I finally reached home, I sat in the driveway for almost 20 minutes. I stared at the front door, the door to the life I thought I had, the life that wasn't real. The house suddenly didn't feel like home. The walls didn't feel safe anymore. Everything was tainted. I walked inside. The silence hit me, our baby clothes, the crib, the ultrasound photo on the fridge. I picked it up and stared at it. That tiny shape, that heartbeat, that little life didn't deserve any of this. And the thought hit me. How can she do this while carrying our child? That was the first time I cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears falling onto the ultrasound picture. Tears for the life I lost and the life my child was about to enter. She came home later than usual, almost midnight. I heard her keys in the door and my stomach twisted. I sat in the living room pretending to watch TV. When she walked in, she looked happy, glowing. The kind of smile she hadn't shown me in months, the kind that used to be mine. "Hey," she said softly, placing her bag on the table. "I'm exhausted." Exhausted from what? My thoughts snapped like a rubber band. She kissed my cheek lightly, quickly. I could almost feel the residue of someone else's affection on her skin. It made me sick, physically sick. My chest tightened. My vision blurred for a second, but I forced myself to stay calm. I couldn't explode, not yet. "How was your appointment?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She hesitated for half a second, barely noticeable, but I saw it. "It was fine," she said, "just the usual stuff." Lies. Effortless lies. And she looked me in the eyes while saying them. She went to take a shower and I sat there staring at the hallway. Jealousy didn't hurt this much. Anger didn't hurt this much. But betrayal during pregnancy, it rewrites your entire understanding of love. I heard the shower running and closed my eyes. The same shower she used after seeing him. The same shower she used to wash away what she didn't want me to know. And I suddenly realized something terrifying. She wasn't confused. She wasn't overwhelmed. She wasn't emotionally lost. She was choosing this. Choosing him. Over me. Over our child. Over everything we built. The next morning I woke up before her. Not intentionally, I just couldn't sleep. My mind felt like it was stuck between rage and heartbreak. I walked around the house, touching things that used to make me feel safe. Her books, the baby clothes, the framed photo from our anniversary. Everything felt like a lie now. When she finally got up, she said she was craving breakfast from her favorite cafe. Normally, I'd go with her, but today, I needed space. "You go," I said. She looked surprised but not disappointed. Another sign. The moment she left, I opened her laptop. I never touched her stuff before, but now I needed to know. I needed to confirm what I already feared. Her passwords were saved. She never expected I'd look. Her messages, her emails, her cloud backup, all of it was there. And what I found was worse than I imagined. There were messages going back months. Pictures, plans, late-night conversations, comments about me, comments about the baby. They joked about me being too trusting. They joked about me being clueless. They joked about how easy it was. But the worst part, the part that shattered something in me permanently, was a message she sent him. "Sometimes I forget I'm even pregnant when I'm with you." That one sentence, that one line, hit me harder than anything in my entire life. She forgot she was carrying my child because she was too busy living a life with another man. When she came home with her coffee and bag of pastries, I was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open. She froze when she saw the screen. Her smile disappeared so fast it felt like watching a mask fall off. What are you doing?" she whispered. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I didn't accuse her. I just turned the laptop toward her and said, "Explain." Her face went pale. She sat down slowly like her legs couldn't hold her weight anymore. She opened her mouth but no sound came out. I waited. I needed to hear the truth even if it killed me. "I'm sorry," she finally said, but her voice wasn't sad, it was scared. Scared of losing comfort, scared of consequences, not scared of hurting me. "Why?" I asked. "Why now? Why during pregnancy?" She covered her face with her hands and started crying, but something about it felt wrong, forced, not real. "It just happened," she said between sobs. "I was lonely. You worked a lot. I felt ignored." That was a lie. I worked because she was pregnant. I worked because she wanted a better home. I worked because I wanted to give our child everything. But she twisted it into an excuse. When I didn't respond, she said, "It didn't mean anything. He doesn't mean anything." Another lie. If he didn't mean anything, why did she see him for months? Why did she sneak around? Why did she smile at her phone at midnight? She reached for my hand, I pulled it away, and in that moment, something inside me snapped forever. I asked her one final question, the question I knew would hurt, the question I had avoided since the moment everything fell apart. Is the baby mine? The silence that followed was worse than any scream. She didn't answer immediately. She didn't reassure me. She didn't react with shock or anger or offense. She just stared at the floor. Seconds passed, then a minute, then another, and she whispered, "I think so. I think so. Not yes. Not absolutely. Not of course. Just I think so." My chest tightened so violently I thought I was going to pass out. The room felt smaller, my vision blurred. The woman I built a life with, the woman I trusted, the woman carrying what was supposed to be our child who wasn't even sure if it was mine. I stood up. She tried to grab my arm. I stepped back. "I need space," I said, my voice barely holding together. "But we can fix this," she cried. "No," I whispered, "you broke something that can't be fixed." And I walked out of the house, leaving behind the life I thought I had, and the family I wasn't sure was even mine anymore. I didn't take anything with me, not clothes, not a bag, not even my phone charger. I just walked. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't care. I just needed to get away from the lies, from the betrayal, from the uncertainty of whether the child she was carrying was even mine. I booked a cheap hotel room, nothing special, a tiny room with yellow walls, stiff sheets, and a window that faced a parking lot. But it felt safer than my own home. It felt cleaner, untouched by lies. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally let myself collapse. The tears came again, but they weren't like before. These weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of exhaustion, tears from carrying too much pain for too long. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her message. "Sometimes I forget I'm even pregnant when I'm with you." It echoed inside my skull like a curse. I kept asking myself questions I couldn't answer. How long had she been planning this? Was the baby truly mine? Was our entire relationship just a lie she was living through? At one point, around 3 a.m., I grabbed my phone and typed out a message to her. "We're done." But I didn't send it. Not because I still loved her, but because anger wasn't enough anymore. This required clarity, strategy, proof, closure. When the sun finally rose, I felt like a different person, a quieter person, a more dangerous person, not violent, not angry, just done with being lied to, done with being manipulated, done with being the fool in someone else's story. I made a decision. I was going to find the truth. About her, about him, about the baby. No more assumptions, no more hopes, only reality. The next morning, I called a private clinic. Not a hospital, not somewhere she'd notice on insurance records. A discreet place, professional, fast, expensive, but worth it. "Is it possible," I asked the nurse, "to do a paternity test before the baby is born?" There was a pause. "Yes," she said. "It's called NIPT, non-invasive prenatal testing, completely safe." Safe. A word I hadn't felt in months. "How soon can I book an appointment?" "We have a slot this afternoon." I almost hung up, because this meant the unthinkable, doing a DNA test behind her back. But what choice did I have? She had taken trust and destroyed it. She had turned love into a guessing game. She had made my own child a question mark. When I arrived, the clinic smelled like disinfectant and quiet sorrow. The walls were covered in photos of Bobbies. I walked past them quickly. I couldn't look at their smiling faces. It hurt too much. The nurse explained the process. A simple blood draw from her, not from me. But that was the problem. I didn't have access to her. Is there any other way? I asked quietly. She shook her head. No, the mother must be present, otherwise it's impossible. I thanked her and walked out. My heart felt heavier than when I walked in. There was only one option left. I had to confront her again.
If this story hits you, you can support the channel with a quick hype.
Not with anger, not with accusations, but with a request she wouldn't be able to dodge. A paternity test. I went back home that evening. I wasn't ready, but I didn't have a choice. The truth wouldn't come to me. I had to go to it. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, making dinner, acting like everything was normal, like she hadn't destroyed our marriage the day before. "You're back," she whispered, almost relieved. I didn't sit down. I didn't take off my jacket. "We need to talk," I said. She froze. "I want a DNA test." Her face turned white, completely white, like every drop of blood drained from her body. "What?" she whispered, even though she heard me perfectly. "You heard me. I need to know for myself, for the future, for the child." She shook her head slowly. No, you're overreacting. We can fix this without." "I'm not asking," I said. "I'm telling you we do this test or I walk away forever." She looked terrified, not sad, not heartbroken, terrified. Because she knew why someone would refuse a test. Because they were scared of the truth. "I can't," she finally said. Her voice cracked. Not from emotion, from panic. That told me everything I needed to know. But I stayed calm. "Why not?" Because it's risky for the baby." "Lie. It's expensive." Another lie. "I'm under stress." Another lie. She refused to look me in the eyes. "Just tell me the truth," I said. "Is there a chance, any chance, that the baby isn't mine?" She broke. She covered her face. She cried harder than I had ever seen. And through her shaking voice, she whispered, "I don't know." Her confession didn't make things clearer. It made the situation darker, more twisted. She didn't know. She didn't know if the man she'd been sneaking around with, the man she flirted with, texted at midnight, met in secret, was the father of the child she was carrying. My child. My possible child. My maybe not child. I stared at her, not with anger, not with tears, just numbness. "How long?" I asked. 3 months, she whispered. "Were you seeing him when we were trying to get pregnant?" She nodded. That was it. That was the answer to everything. She created a life inside her. And she didn't even know who helped create it. I walked to the hallway, grabbed my keys, opened the door. "Where are you going?" she begged. "Somewhere you can't lie to me." She fell to her knees, literally, begging, crying, screaming that she needed me. But I knew better now. She didn't need me. She needed the version of me she could manipulate. I left, for good this time. That night, sitting alone in another cheap hotel room, I felt the weight of everything crash down on me, and then slowly fade. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Not because I wasn't hurt. Not because I wasn't broken. But because I finally accepted something I should have understood long ago. Her betrayal wasn't my failure. Her confusion wasn't my burden. Her choices weren't my responsibility. I didn't cause her cheating. I didn't push her toward him. I didn't make her forget she was pregnant. She did all of that herself. And the baby, whatever the truth was, deserved a father who knew the answers, not a man living in fear, not a man living in someone else's lies. I made a promise that night. I would find the truth, no matter how painful, no matter how ugly. And once I had it, I would decide the fate of my future, and the future of a child who might not even be mine. 2 days passed. 2 long days of silence. No calls, no text, no apologies, no explanations. On the third day, she finally messaged me. Not with what I expected. No, I'm sorry. No, come back. No, let's talk. Instead, a photo, a sonogram, our baby, or what I believed was our baby, frozen in time inside her womb. Below it she wrote, "He deserves a father, please don't abandon him." Not me, not us, just him. The manipulation hit me like a punch. She wasn't reaching out because she regretted what she did. She wasn't reaching out because she loved me. She was reaching out because she was scared. Scared of being alone. Scared of facing the consequences. Scared of losing the life she ruined with her own hands. I stared at the image for a long time. A part of me felt something. A small, fragile piece of hope. That maybe that child was really mine. But another part of me, the part she had broken, whispered, if she truly wanted you, she wouldn't be using a child as leverage. The truth hurt, but clarity hurt less than lies. I typed one message. If you want me in this child's life, then we do the test. No excuses. She didn't reply. Not for an hour. Not for a day. And in that silence, I realized something powerful. She wasn't refusing because she was scared of needles, or worried about money, or stressed from pregnancy. She was refusing because she already knew the outcome. On the 5th day, my best friend, the same man she had been texting, finally broke his silence. He sent me a voice message. A long one, almost trembling. Bro, I need to tell you something. I'm sorry. We didn't mean for anything to happen. I stopped it. I couldn't listen. Not yet. Then another message. She told me she wasn't with you seriously anymore. She said you two were basically done. She said the baby wasn't yours. She told me you were controlling and distant. Lie. 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 He exposed her without meaning to. He confessed every detail she tried to hide. Every time she painted me as the villain. Every time she lied to him to get sympathy. Every time she manipulated 2 men at the same time. I didn't feel anger. I felt peace. Because now I knew. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was capable of rewriting reality itself, to fit whatever made her feel justified. I deleted his messages, not because I forgave him, but because his words no longer mattered. The truth was no longer a mystery. It was a weapon, and it set me free. 2 days later, she finally agreed to meet. We sat down in a public place, a cafe filled with quiet music, warm lighting, and conversations from couples who actually loved each other. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hands trembling. "I'll do the test," she whispered. I nodded. No anger, no satisfaction, just acceptance. The clinic scheduled us in immediately. She sat in the chair, holding her belly with one hand, as the nurse prepared her arm for the blood draw. For a moment, a very small moment, I looked at her and felt something human. Not love, not forgiveness, just sadness. For what we could have been, and for what we'd become. The nurse filled the vial, labeled it, sealed it. "That's it," she said. "Results in 7 days." 7 days. 7 days that felt like 7 years. During those 7 days, I prepared for both outcomes. If the baby was mine, right arrow, I would take responsibility. As a father, not as a husband. If the baby was right arrow, I would walk away forever. No drama, no shouting, no revenge fantasies, just truth. On the 7th day, I received the email. My hands shook as I clicked it open. Lines of text blurred together until one sentence sharpened into focus. Probability of paternity, 0%. I didn't cry. I didn't collapse. I didn't scream. I exhaled, slowly, deeply, like I'd been holding my breath for months. The weight on my chest disappeared. The pain still there but quieter. The confusion gone. The fear gone. The doubt gone. I forwarded her the email. She replied in seconds. Can we at least try to fix things between us? I typed one final message. There is nothing left to fix. And I blocked her. Not out of anger, not out of hatred, but because her role in my life was over. Her chapter was finished, and mine was finally beginning. Months passed. I healed slowly. I learned things about myself, that I could survive betrayal, change direction, start over from nothing. I met new people, made new routines, found new meaning in simple things. Most importantly, I stopped blaming myself. I stopped replaying what happened. I stopped wondering if I could have prevented it. I stopped asking questions that had no answers. One morning, standing on my balcony with a cup of coffee, the sun rising between the buildings, I realized something. Sometimes losing someone is the only way to find yourself. And I finally felt free. Not because the pain was gone, but because it no longer controlled me. Her betrayal was not my ending. It was my rebirth.
If you've ever felt this kind of pain, don't walk through it alone. Hit subscribe and stay with us. More real stories are coming.